So there are three significant changes that profoundly impacted how I look at life when I moved here in the US. First is my marriage and the love and the union that me and my husband are currently sharing. I realized that I have the wrong mindset going into our marriage. I thought that marriage is going to be like very difficult or chaotic, or there's going to be lots of yelling, lots of like throwing stuff, lots of like sulking or making tampo. And that's what I've witnessed growing up, and I thought that it's gonna be the same thing with me. Fast forward to now, 8 years into our marriage, honestly I'm not even waiting for like the same chaotic marriage that I've seen back when I was growing up, because so far it never happened. And within 8 years I feel like we built a solid foundation on how we approach different things, like difficult conversation, difficult topic, making decision, raising our son, or just daily, you know, your daily habits together. But yeah, it's just like I had the wrong mindset back then, like, okay, I'm about to get married and this shit is serious. I need to do this. The sun is shining and going away, so you might see the lighting changes every now and again. But anyway, yeah, I was like, okay, I'm getting married now and this is serious stuff, and I need to like put everything in it and stuff like that. When in reality, 8 years into it, I'm like, yeah, this is actually kind of cool. We don't fight that often. Don't get me wrong, we have instances, especially our first 2-3 years of living together, that's when we're like butting heads all the time, because he's only 2 years older than me, and that is actually the first time that I experienced freedom. In the Philippines, I was born and raised with my grandma. I lived with my grandma till like I moved to the US. So just imagine that. I got here, I was like, oh my God, I'm finally free. No, I'm not, I'm married. And so it's just that 2 to 3 years, you know, we're like constantly butting heads, but it never really escalated to something serious. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, little arguments here and there. I want to eat out all the time, because in the Philippines it's rarely that we eat out. We always make food at home, and he want to make food at home. And I was like, I want to eat at the Chinese restaurant, I want to eat this and do that. Looking back at it now, actually kind of thankful that he like pushes me to make home cooked meal, because if not, then we were probably eating out all the time. It's not budget friendly, it's not healthy, and it's just not sustainable, like financially. Your health is gonna suffer because God knows what's in that food. But I'm actually kind of thankful that he kind of pushes me to like, we've eaten out two times already this week, we need to make food. But yeah, it's just like this constant, and I feel like we're like measuring each other up when I moved here and we're together finally, for because the visa process took about a year for, you know, me getting approved, getting all the papers done, pay for this stuff, pay that stuff, and then finally getting the visa, and then booking on the plane ticket and all that stuff. It took a year. So when I got here and we're finally together, we lived together in the Philippines for like 2 months until he left. So it wasn't really that long, but here the first 2-3 years, it was not a joke. And then right after that, as we go through and kind of see, okay, this is how we react when something doesn't go his way, and he realized this is how I react when something doesn't go my way. And we kind of find the middle ground in that, and then until we come up with something that works for us. So yeah, I was going to this marriage thing thinking that, okay, this is going to be a trap. This is a trap. And then just growing up, I've witnessed a lot of domestic violence. So I was like, no, bro, I'm just hoping and praying that that doesn't happen to me. But if it actually happens, I wouldn't be surprised. That was my mindset back then. If it actually happens, I wouldn't be surprised, because I've seen it happening in the people around me growing up. But it never happened. It will never happen. Now the shift happened when it was like, when I was like, okay, what if I am meant to have like a happy, long-lasting, easygoing marriage? What if I deserve this? What if I deserve to have, like, you know, an easy life because I've been bullied and all that stuff growing up? What if this is my, you know, victorious moment? So yeah, so that's the first significant change that happens. Obviously, marriage, finding love, and not only love, but like a love that lasts and a healthy love that literally changed how I view life just in general. Second is the birth of my son. Giving birth to my first child literally changed how I view life differently. Not only how I view life, but how I appreciate my body more, and how I just looked at life differently. It literally changes everything, especially when you give birth to a boy, a son. Because I was like, okay, you mean to tell me all these men that I'm seeing walking around, right? They were all boys at one point. And then before they became a little boy, they were a baby. Before they were a baby, they were a fetus inside their mother's womb. And everyone came from mothers, you telling me? I was like, my mind is blown. I know we always see like women giving birth and getting pregnant and giving birth again. Boy, girl, boy, girl. But like the fact that I can actually make another human, and this human is actually a different gender than mine, I'm mind blown. I guess you won't fully understand it until it happens to you. But like, bro, my son, now he's a boy, he's a toddler boy, and he's going to grow up to be a man. That literally, like, that changes everything. Because I'm looking at all men walking around, even an old dude. You have a mom, you know, you grew up inside your mom's womb. It's just like, when I gave birth to my son, I was like, that is insane. And that's like literally shifted how I view life, and how I view other people, and how I view mothers, and how I view my body. I appreciate my body more now than before. The way my body accommodate, obviously now I'm pregnant too, it's just that the way my body accommodate to sustain this new life that, like, you know, that I'm currently creating within me is insane. You mean to tell me all my organs are like moving up for this growing baby? Because right now I can't breathe, I can't do anything. When I lay on my back, all the weight is on my belly and I can't breathe. I feel like my breathing is up, my oxygen is only like 30%. So I have to lay on my side. It's just that my body's accommodating to this life. And I know I'm like going back and forth, but it's like when it happens to you, you understand. If you're a man and you see your wife, girlfriend, whatever, give birth, you will understand. If you're a woman, you're planning to have a baby soon, you will understand. It's just the miracle of life. And not only that, after I gave birth to him, he was a baby, and he kind of showed us like different side of ourselves. Basically, I've seen softer side of my husband when he's like with my son. He's seen like the other side of me when I'm with my son. So it just, babies, kids, children will bring different side of you that you don't know existed before. That's why I believe that you're not fully like healed. Like, I always heal people, oh, I'm healed, let me heal myself before I get into a new relationship or do this and that. I don't think people realize that when you get into a relationship, there's going to be another side of you that this person might trigger that you don't know that's still there. Or when you become a mother, the child might trigger something that you don't know existed within you. So I feel like there's really no such thing as like, okay, I'm gonna be a mom at around 35 because then I'm ready to be a mom. Or like, I'm gonna get married at this age because then I'm gonna be ready. There's no such thing as being ready. Because at this age, when you think you're ready, life will throw another ball at you, and you're gonna be like, holy crap, okay, I thought I settled this already. It's not. And I feel like ultimately children just teaches us how to appreciate little things. Because now I just observe my son, right? And he just get excited about little things. Like snow falling, the first snowfall, he's just so excited. And I feel like I've learned a lot from him than us teaching him things. And I know you probably hear this all the time from parents, but once you get it, you get it. And once you go through it, you will get it. I feel like children will teach you more than you teaching them. He was just get excited about little things, and they just have this excitement about life. Well, we wake up in the middle of winter pissed off because there's no sun. Them waking up and they're just happy, you know? And yeah, it literally impacted how I view, you know, life when I became a mother. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of moms out there, if they're watching this, they're probably gonna agree too. So last but not the least is death. My mom passed away back in 2017. I haven't even reached my 1-year anniversary moving here in the US. She passed away, so I have to come home and bury her. It was not a good time. 2017 was not a good time for me personally, because that's when me and my husband are still trying to like measure up each other. Just got here. We're trying to like settle. I think I already have a job when I heard that she passed away. But it was just a very challenging year for me. The passing of my mom made me realize how finite our time here. It made me acknowledge the fact that life is not guaranteed and death is inevitable. And that's why in the past couple of years, I made like a very clear list of my priorities. And these are my non-negotiable. These are the relationship with my husband, my marriage, obviously, my relationship with my son, and the relationship with myself. So those are my top 3 priorities. And then there are some other priorities too, but those are my top 3. My husband, my child, and myself. And then it made me wanted to like become more intentional with the action and decision that I make in life, because realization just hit me that we are all gonna die basically. So yeah, like it made me just think that this is real. Like we are all gonna lay on our deathbed, and then like we are all just gonna look back in our life. How did we spend it? What did we do? Did we like, you know, are we leaving like a really good legacy for our children, or we just kind of like mindlessly go through our life without even achieving some of our dreams and goals, without spending more time with our loved one, or just going through life? Did we gone through life with like a grateful heart? The life that my mom lived made me also think about my mental well-being and my health and fitness, because my mom was a heavy smoker, and I believe when she was young, she drinks alcohol too. So I strongly believe that those vices contributed to her heart disease, because she had heart problems. So, but she's like a heavy smoker. She just recently stopped like a year before she passed away. So smoking definitely is one of the things that contributed to her heart disease. And she was only 48 when she passed. She was a very passionate person, to the point that some people would like read it or interpret it as like being aggressive. But she just really believes in, you know, in me, or like in some of the family members. She believes in them strongly. She believes that they can do better and that they are better. She's just passionate like that. My mom is also the most loyal person I've ever met, because even though the whole family do not approve of my stepdad, I've seen her stood beside him, even though the whole family did not like him. And I kind of feel like I got my loyalty from my mom, because I've seen her and how she stood beside my stepdad against all odds. So I was like, now that I'm getting older and I'm married too, I'm just slowly like realizing that, I probably got it from her. Like, she's just very like, you know, if she believes in the person, she'll stick beside you no matter what. And I kind of believe that my loyalty, I got it from her. One time at work, there was this one person, and he passed away, and the store manager came to me. Well, she like telling each team member that this dude passed away. And I was shocked when she told me. So I kind of like tear up a little bit, because this dude, we're not like really close, but he's like a chill dude. But you can kind of see that he's like, he's not okay, because how pale he is. And sometimes he just comes to work. He have blonde, thin hair, and you can kind of see that he would barely like brush his hair, because it was just all frizzy. And I was like, is he okay? Like, is he okay? But he was just coming to work, bro. And then one time, my store manager came to me and is like, hey, did you hear about what happened to Josh? I was like, no, what happened to Josh? He passed away. They saw him in his home with his autistic child. Her child is autistic. So apparently the child been there for like 2-3 days while the dad is laying on the floor, bro, dead. The child thought that the dad is just sleeping or something. But I was shocked and I cried. And then a couple days after that, they brought in a counselor, and the HR told us like, hey guys, if you need help with, if you need someone to talk to, we have a counselor in that room if you guys want to come in and talk to him. And me, being someone that's like interested in how everything works in the US, I came in. And the counselor, he was sitting there scribbling something on his tissue paper, because I feel like no one came in. I feel like I'm the only one that came. So I came in and he's like, hey, come in. He pushed away the tissue paper. He just scribbles in there. He's like, and then he saw my name, and he he glanced at my nameplate. Hey, Beth, how are you? This and that, It's like, yeah, okay. So, I don't know how it started, but what I got from him from that conversation is that he asked me, how did I grieve for my mom's loss? I was like, what do you mean, how did I grieve? And I realized that mourning is different than grieving. Mourning is what you do physically. For example, in the Philippines, we would gather around in our deceased family member. We would like spend 6 to 7 days gathered around in the deceased family member. We would bring flowers. We would cook food. Some would like play cards while we wait for some distant family member to come and see the deceased loved one for the last time. So it usually takes 6 to 7 days for the wake. We call it wake or lamay in the Philippines. I told him that that's what we do. That's how we mourn. And then he was like, okay, so how did you grieve? And then I looked at him and he looked at me, and we both paused. I was like, I never grieve. I didn't grieve. Like, and then he gave me an example. Well, how do you grieve? You grieve like, when you want to cry, you cry. When you don't fight it. Sometimes I'll be washing dishes, I'm crying. Okay, so I guess that's grieving then. Yeah, that's grieving. When you want to cry, you cry. When you think about your mother, you don't force it, like you don't push it away. You think about her. When you want to talk about her, you talk about all the good things about her. You talk about all the bad things as well. Because the more you talk about her, the more the brain will know that, she's not here, that she's, in this, she's not here physically. So don't fight it, because then the grieving will just take longer and longer. You do not fight it. I was like, oh, okay. And that made me realize this is how we've been dealing with death in the Philippines, is that we mourn for 6 to 7 days, bury the loved one, and then move on with our life, go back to work and do whatever we do every day. So that's when I realized, do Filipinos grieve? Do we grieve our loved ones? Or I guess we don't, because the counselor said, well, that's not really grieving when you just, gather around in the deceased with the deceased. That'll help, because then you have a community or something. But it's not really like grieving, because grieving is within. It's what you do with that emotion inside of you. I was like, interesting. So I never really grieved. Well, back then when I was talking to him, I never really grieve. It's grieving when I'm, when I remember her and I cry and I, think about her and I tell stories about her. He's like, yeah, that is grieving. And then she even cited an example because he's Italian, and he's like, one time, it was Thanksgiving, we gathered around, my mom passed away too, and then we gathered around in one of my brother's house, and then I brought up my mother in the Thanksgiving dinner, and everyone just pushed me away. He said they don't want to talk about my mom, and he was like, we need to talk about mom. Mom is still part of this family, so why aren't we talking about our mother? Even though she's dead, doesn't mean she don't exist anymore. We have to talk about mom. Because the more you talk about the person who passed away, the more it'll help you move on. I was like, oh, wow. I never really thought of it like that. Most of the time after the lamai or after the wake, we would just move on with our life. Just move on, get back to work. Force yourself to actually get back to work. And that's it. And you just move on. Sometimes you would cry here and there. I was like, that is interesting. And I'm telling you, that one time of like speaking to that counselor actually helped me a lot. Now I don't fight it. I wake up, I miss my mom, I cry. I wake up. Sometimes I want to look at photos of her. I would look at photos of her. Sometimes I would talk to my husband about her. I would talk to my husband about her. It's still part of the grieving process. And it's different because when one of your parents died, it's like, it's different. It hits different. But yeah, that is all for this video, you guys. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up and I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye.